We've made it now, I think, all the way to 78, to where you've come to Minneapolis.
Yeah.
You started at the Skyway Lounge for the dancers.
Yeah.
And then you branched over into the West Bank and the 400 Bar and other such places.
Well, used to go over the 400 quite a bit because when I was trying to do my night school right at the U, the bus would drop me off at Cedar and Riverside, which the new Riverside Cafe used to refer to that corner and there, the new Riverside Cafe, as the biomagnetic
Center of the universe.
Yeah, right.
Yes, I remember that.
So, but back then, even before I really started playing gigs, like I sit in over the new Riverside and the Cafe Extemp. But all the musicians, that was like ground zero for the best musicians, folk and blues musicians in Minneapolis,
Sure.
was the West Bank. You had the Caboose up the street, and the Joint was right down the street, and the Triangle, the Viking. So
Wow.
even if you weren't, I wasn't even playing it, but you could go hear Willie Murphy. You could go hear Dave Ray. You could hear Tony Glover with either Dave Ray or John Curdy. You could hear Spider John solo. All these different configurations. Then the Rio Nito was starting with Prudence Johnson, Tim Sparks, and Tommy Lieberman. And you had these great guitar players like, Leo Kottke came out of the Cafe Extemp. But you had Tim Hennessy, a great flat picker, Dakota Dave Hall, Sean Blackburn, Mary Duchesne, a great fiddle player. Everywhere you turn, you could either hear a great musician or have a beer with them.
Yeah, and people were coming from all over the country to hear some of these people.
Oh,
they
yeah.
they would get the word that, oh my God, there's a picker that you need to go see, or there's a songwriter that you need to go see.
Well, and now really you look at it through the modern day with the great Charlie Parr.
Oh yeah,
A
yeah.
good buddy of mine, is that the Twin Cities, if you look at it, Peter Lang and Leo Kottke, and then you had the Hausers, Michael Hauser and Tony Hauser, played flamenco and classical guitar. But the Twin Cities has probably been the biggest hotbed of acoustic, steel string and nylon string guitar playing as good as anywhere in the world.
Yeah, yeah. And so right along with that, on the bill, probably every other night or so, was Cats Under the Stars.
We started playing, O'Keefe and I started playing down as a duo again. I talked him into coming down from, he was living in Duluth at the time. And so we started playing again. Sweet Potato did an article on us. They referred to us as the Psychedelic Mills Brothers.
Hey, that's
And
something.
so we talked Pasternak coming down, then we were three. And we started doing acoustic 30s and 40s style swing jazz, like Cats and the Fiddle, Mills Brothers. And we kind of patterned ourselves after Rio Nito, who was doing kind of that same
They
thing.
were doing that retro stuff too.
Yeah, and we were a little more, we weren't quite as tight as they were, but we had the same groove. And you look at Cats and the Fiddle and those bands that are playing that stuff, a lot of it was just the momentum of the music.
Yeah.
So then
You were packing the clubs too.
we started
You
to,
had-
well then we...
You had a lot of audience.
We met a guy by the name of Jeff Cerniak, who's an electric guitar player, very well known in the West Bank circles. And we got our drummer down, Steve Sanstead, from the range. And so then we started to play as an electric band. And we were playing, we thought we were a Grateful Dead band just because it was Cats from the Stars. Because Jerry Garcia, 3 years after we named ourselves Cats from the Stars,
Yeah.
puts out a record called Cats Under the Stars. And I love Garcia. I wasn't a Deadhead. O'Keefe didn't like him at all. But we played similar stuff. We played Neville Brothers like they did. We played, we played Buddy Holly stuff and Johnny Cash like the Dead did. We might have done one Grateful Dead tune, but we played long songs because we were a dance band. So Cerniak played with us. And then we really developed a following. Part of it was people thought we were a Grateful Dead cover band, which we never were. But we'll take the fans. You know what
We'll
I
take
mean?
the name, right?
And back then, Andy, I don't know if you were in town, but the two big clubs to play were the Caboose and the Union.
Yeah.
And
sure.
the Caboose would have Levon Helm, Delbert McClinton, Buddy Guy and Junior Wells,
Wow.
Steppenwolf. The Union would have, all the great blues cats. Muddy Waters played there.
Wow.
All of the Lonnie Brooks.
I got into the Union more towards when
Albert
it was
Collins,
closing.
yeah.
So you would see like Lamont Cranston, and you'd see Daisy Dillman, and you'd see them.
All the locals,
Yeah.
Doug Maynard, Willie and the Bees.
Yeah.
You know, it's hard to believe now, when you think back 30, 35 years ago, you could go out any night of the week to any number of clubs in the Twin Cities, hear a variety of styles of music, all different from the one you heard the night before.
Yeah.
Of all some of the greatest musicians in town, and some of those musicians are the greatest musicians in America.
Yeah. Yeah. And even across the street. So you'd have this band across the street, and you'd have another completely different sound, or another group across the street, and still the places were packed.
Cats and the Stars, we did our trio there. We did 4 years from about 1980 to 1984 at the 400 on Tuesday night. And we got paid $150 a night, a free bar tab, so we doubled our pay right there. And occasionally we'd run the tip jar up to Palmer's after a couple of whiskey cloudies. And we'd be walking out with a tip jar full of money. Someone would go, "Where's the band?" And we'd go, "At the 400. And we'd split.
So you've seen a lot of changes in that time. Who were some of the bands? Oh, so Willie Murphy got to be really well known. Bonnie Raitt came up through that.
Yeah.
A lot of people started to come up through that, and then became associated with the Minnesota sound.
Yeah.
And you were one of those as well. Yeah, your major guests, so your top 20, if you could, off the top of your head.
John Kiriakou, the CIA agent who brought down Al-Qaeda number 3, Abu Zubaydah. Beverly Oliver, who is a close personal friend of Jack Ruby's.
Did she like your Jack Ruby song?
Yeah, she did. Jack, she used to work at a club next to Jack's club, the Carousel Club.
Okay.
So Jack would walk her back to the bus stop, occasionally give her a ride home after work. So he was a real gentleman. And till that fateful day in November. But the other thing I'm really pleased with is I've been able to bring a lot of musicians, musicians people know, like Willie Murphy and Lonnie Knight, Billy Hallquist, Kevin Odegaard, but a lot of musicians that deserve wider recognition, like, Katie Vernon, Dan Israel, Martin Devaney, and recently Joe Demko, longtime guitar player for the Willie and the Bees, is a great swing jazz guitar player.
Yeah.
Bring these stories out and let them tell their own stories,
Yeah, you kind of back away and just let them roll with it.
Very, I get enough FaceTime, as it were, and I'm tired of my own stories. I've told them so many times. So that's really fun, like what we do with Wall of Power TV.
Oh yeah.
Look at we got Beverly Guitar Watkins on. I never heard of her.
Yeah.
And I did some quick research.
Amazing.
We had her in the studio, and then we went down to Shaw's.
On a Saturday afternoon, we went into the studio when she was going to be on stage in 3 hours or something like that, and it was just like, okay, it's a rush job, but we can do it, and it just turned out amazingly
and then
well.
she just passed away a couple months ago.
Yeah.
So that's special stuff to have.
We get them before they go, hopefully.
So, but if you remember that night, because she had kind of a Hendrix thing going on.
Yeah.
And she told me that night as she was getting on stage with her Fender Stratocaster Squire guitar, she said, "Paul," she goes, "I'm not going to be able to play guitar behind my back tonight. I threw my shoulder out last."
Yeah, I remember that.
I said, "I'm 25 years younger. I don't do it either, Beverly."
Yeah, the age curve that we have on the show that we've had the last 100 episodes or so, we're right around 85 or 80 or 85, because we have some 90-year-olds in there in the upper 90s.
With Cornbread Harris, he was early 90s.
Yeah.
We had Herb Pilhofer's 88.
Yeah. But telling some great stories that need to be told, or else they're going to be lost forever.
Yeah.
And what you said too when you first asked me if I would do the show, cool people from all walks of life in all 50 states, anyone we can get our hands on. John Vesner. Now, while that might not be a big deal to some people, a singer-songwriter who is currently working on the Don Juans with Tom Paxton.
Right.
When Bop When It Stopped and World, whatever that song.
Married to
The
Kathy
thing-
Mattea, multi-Grammy Award winner.
Yeah, the song that I grew up with, though, I mean, Marvelous Toy,
Yeah.
you know, and suddenly he's working with Paxton, and like all these people are connected. So again, I want to thank you for being able to open that up and to bring these people and the Blood on the Tracks thing,
Yeah,
which
that
was
was
amazing as well.
I met in 1994. If you read my book, Blue Guitar Highway, all these stories are in there. But somebody had sent a tape of mine to Nora Guthrie, Woody Guthrie's daughter. And I did my farewell show at the Guthrie Theater June 31st, 94. My mother passed away a few months later, put me into just a terrible, what I think is now a clinical depression. I spent all the money I made from the show I was going to go to Nashville with. Spent all the money recording the show, which I did. It's called Mississippi Farewell. And so I was broke. I couldn't play anymore because I did my big farewell show. So I basically hid out for about 6 or 7 months in my apartment. And Christmas Eve day, it was brutal. I had about $60 to get up north. I was going to the Goodwill to get presents for my family.
Yeah.
And I locked my damn keys in my car. Well,
If it wasn't for bad luck, you wouldn't have had no
Right.
luck at all.
it was colder than hell, too. So I went home. I was living at 1818 LaSalle, this beautiful old mansion. And there was a letter. This was Christmas Eve day. And it said, Guthrie, New York City. And I went, what the hell?
Wow.
So I ran upstairs and I opened it. It was Nora Guthrie, Woody's daughter. And she said, who the hell are you? I love your music. So right then, the clouds parted, the snow started to melt. I said, that's it. I'm selling the guitar. I'm going to New York City. I'm going to meet Nora Guthrie. And that's what I did. I ended up there for a year and a half.
And you said before that you had been on tour at one point in your career. You left Minneapolis and you were in Austin and Boston.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time in Austin, Texas.
Yeah.
Did a lot of gigs down there. Played in Boston several times at the Rat. Played in New York City, 15 times. Did my New York City debut in '86 at Folk City, where Bob Dylan debuted. The Folk City was down the street at the time, but still the karmic ghosts were there.
Yeah. I've seen that photo of you too under the Folk City sign.
Oh, it's
I
pretty
can see
cool.
why. Yeah, incredible
for
lineup
me-
on the wall too.
Yeah, for me, this is like, this is why I'm doing it, you know. But no, Andy, I feel most comfortable playing my own stuff with my favorite musicians, some of who I've been playing with for 40-some years.
Yeah.
That show with Willie Walker, so the great musician in town named Robert Hillstrom,
Yeah.
taped that show. And so we put out, we were just going to tape it. And we listened to it, and it sounds so damn good. So let's just put it out on a record, live on 55, because the party was right off Highway 55.
Yeah, it was.
And so I got to meet you and celebrate Tim's 50th. And and now that Willie's not with us, it's a really special legacy for me to go back. There's a lot of stuff of us on YouTube, and we've got, 12 or 15 shows that the great Jeff Milichis has taped at different venues we've done. And then, of course, I think one of the highlights of working with Willie Walker was when I wrote Ain't Gonna Whistle Dixie Anymore.
Oh, yeah.
And we went into the studio with the Scotty Harold at the high school for the recording house. Was able to invite my friend Gary Hines, the director of Sounds of Blackness, greatest black choir in the world, that was on my bucket list. I always wanted to work with them.
A great guest on our show too, by the way.
And so their shows, their Christmas show, I think it's at the Pantages this year. So it's the night before Christmas. Got to check it out.
Sure.
But Willie being Willie, how good Willie is, right? So Willie shows up, and I call him. I say, "Hey, we'd like for you to do it." And he, probably talked to him when he was waking up one morning. Yeah, sure, Paul. Because Willie never said no to me. Never said no. I never said no to Willie. It's a
good relationship to have.
Yeah, Willie, you need me? I'm there. Paul, vice versa.
Yeah.
So anyway, we get to the studio, and it's primarily African-American kids that have been having trouble in high school, want to get their music business chops together, their rapping chops, their producing chops. But they could just tell when Willie walked in, and this is the leader of the tribe here. You don't know who he is yet, but you can just feel the respect. So I go to Will, and he goes, yeah, well, give me the chorus. I go, Willie, you're not singing the chorus. I want you to sing the lead. And he kind of gives, occasionally he'd give me that, like, Metsa,
he thought it was a few doo-wops, and instead he's he's got the whole story.
The big doo-wop.
Yeah.
So I sang it to him we had done it at Keith Ellison's barbecue. We debuted it at the State Fair a few months earlier.
You played it for me in your kitchen. That's the first time I heard it. You and the guitar in that kitchen. I wish I'd had a camera on me then.
And then so I sang it to Willie a couple times, and that's all it took for Willie. It was 1 or 2 times. And then he just nailed it. And then, it was really. I'm so proud of that project, that song.
I think that opened a lot of doors, reopened a lot of doors for you creatively, because once you did that, this is the one that you wrote in Northeast after you had been in White Bear Lake for a while, and then you were back in Northeast. You were in your own home, you were in your own space, and that came to you.
Yeah.
The muse was back.
Yeah.
And now you've got more songs that you plan to write in the future. And You've got a lot.
I've got 20
it's
on
inspired
deck.
A lot of things.
We drove down with a guy named Jake Benson through a snowstorm in December to see Leo in December 21st and 22nd at the Guthrie Theater, the night I decided to become a professional musician. That spring, we were coming home from a party, and there was a car crash up ahead. And we were the second car on the crash. And these guys were at the party, and so I ran to the nearest farmhouse. There wasn't cell phones back in 1973, 74. And I knocked on, woke up the farmer who called the sheriff. By the time I got back to the car, the sheriff had come. And my friend Dudley Doyle was in the passenger seat, laying there. He looked angelic. He had long hair, and he looked like he was at peaceful sleep. And this was the guy that turned me on to Leo Kottke.
Wow.
And just months earlier. And so I asked the sheriff to check on him, and he goes, checked on me. He said, no, he's passed away. Although the thought of Metsa with a day job scares a lot of people. Myself, first and foremost.
So you've never spent time in a cube? You've never spent time...
3 hours. I did 3 hours several years ago. But didn't last. But as tough as it's been over the years, and musician's job can be tough because it's very emotional, and this is who you are.
Sure.
And then you have to deal with the vagaries of the marketplace and the slings and arrows of that. Really
a lot of unknowns.
And
not
really,
a stable environment.
Yeah, and not really any harder than anybody else is going through when they're raising a family, single mother, somebody that you lost their wife. I mean, we're all going through deep and dark things together.
So even through the decades, you've lost a lot of people. Who are some of the people that you knew personally that they're just not around anymore, and that you do carry on for? You do carry a little piece of that.
Jimmy LaFave.
Yeah.
My same age. I met him down in Austin, Texas in about 1988. We're the same age, into the same stuff, kind of wrote the same.
You were like brothers.
We really were, from different sides of 35, and lost him a couple years ago. That was tragic. And Pat Denizio from the Smithereens, songwriter, he was the sound guy when I debuted at Folk City in 1986.
Wow.
And he and I became lifelong friends. Just recently lost the banjo player for Cats on the Stars named Skip Nellimark, just passed away suddenly at the age of 67.
Yeah.
If you can inspire some people that can go on and get through their day, or if they get some, they got play a song of yours in the background while they're making love, or they can turn their kids onto your music, or kids can turn their mom and dad onto your music.
Yeah.
And you can help the community. I like to. That's why I do my benefits. The community supports me. I'm here for the community. I'm on speed dial for it. So really, after 40 years, Andy, and now especially after losing both Terry, who was my age, Terry Katzman, who worked with the Replacements and Who's Could Do, such a big part of the Minneapolis rock and roll scene, and then Willie Walker. My commitment to what I do in the music and the life
Just get stronger.
and the human beings just get stronger.
You're like not last man standing, but
Yeah.
there's a few and far between. There's and that bonds also those of you who are still around.
But if you're going to do it professionally, which is harder now than it ever was. I grew up in a time when you could play, back in the day, back in the 80s, early 90s, I was doing 250, 300 shows a year. Mm-hmm. The work scene's not out there. I'm telling any kid out there wants to become a musician, by all means do it, but find a way, find a day job that you enjoy.
Yeah,
and don't
support that a little bit.
Right, because just simply there's not the work scene that there was out there when guys like us came of age. But if you decide to do it professionally, there is nothing better than a great gig. I'm playing now, December 23rd, at the Parkway Theater.
Let's talk about some of your gigs and some of the stuff that's coming up, because it's an important schedule.
It flows right into this. With Cats and the Stars, it's going to be our 45th anniversary in 2020. I've been playing with Tim O'Keefe for 46 years.
Yeah.
Who's in the Cats.
So I'm just a little bit at the Astor Cafe for your birthday.
Yeah, and Willie Walker was going to be one of the headliners. He can't be with us, although he'll be there in spirit. We're going to have his hat.
Oh, yeah.
On a hat stand on stage. We're going to show a nice video of him, too.
Great.
And then Sonny Earl. I've been playing together with him weekly for 22 years. Mm-hmm. So the beautiful thing about music, and if you keep playing and you keep practicing and you get better, it gets to be more fun. Mm-hmm. Because you get your chops improve, you're interpreting, intuiting what your fellow musicians are playing. And you should be getting better year after year. So you get to a point, nobody kids themselves as a musician. I mean, I fight myself weekly, like, I should be better at this, I should be better at that, I could have written a better tune, I should be a better guitar player. But I think at the end of the day, on a good night for myself, I think I can stand up for my 40 or 50 years holding that guitar.
Yeah.
And that means a lot to me. And, sure.
I'm going to jump in here for a minute, too, because I remember when we went and saw you open for Robin Trower at the Fitzgerald, before the Fitzgerald closed, or before it had the previous ownership. We went and had a bite to eat with Sonny Earl.
Yeah.
And as we were crossing the street at the streetlight, there were a couple of fans, big fans with the tie-dye shirts and everything. And they were like, wow, hey, you guys going to the show? Trower's going to be awesome. And I just turned to them and I said, yeah, these guys are opening. And they went, oh, yeah, right. These old guys, yeah, right. And I would have loved to see the look on their face, because sure enough, you and Sonny Wooded there just slayed the place. You had them immediately.
Well, the Fitzgerald. I mean, that
was a great gig.
When I look back, what I was trying to say earlier is that, you think at one point when you're a kid, I'm going to be rich and famous doing this. And then, I've got to a point after all these years, I'm famous enough. Enough people know who I am. You know what I mean? And I don't mean that in a braggadocio way.
Right.
I mean that if I'm broke, I can go to just about any bar in the Twin Cities and get a free drink until next Tuesday.
You got two great bars within walking distance of your house.
Yeah, so, and stumble distance home.
And great friends and
owners. And that's the other thing.
Yeah.
I made great friends. You and I have known each other for now 6, 7, 8 years.
Yeah.
I've known some of these people that come out to see me play. Now they're bringing their 20, 25-year-old kids out to see me play, right?
Yeah.
So I'm part of their families and part of their lives. And I'm an uncle to a bunch of cool sons and daughters and nieces and nephews. And that's my family's, my nieces and nephews, my brothers and sisters.
Such a strong fabric of, you're part of the woven fabric of Northeast. And you've done that by choice, because you give, to all of those things. Speaking of the food shelf, so Holiday on Ice Cubes, Parkway Theater.
Right.
You take it from there. It's a benefit.
Yeah, I'm calling it. Now it's a partial benefit. It's called Holiday and Ice Cubes because when I moved into Northeast in '97, I started doing some gigs at Maslax with Jeff Maritko, who was the owner. He's now one of my dearest friends.
Oh yeah.
And so we started.
That's the other bar that's within walking distance of your house.
Right. Northeast is bar, bar, church, bar, church, bar, bar, church, bar. And then Metsa's house. But so we started Holiday and Ice Cubes. It was a benefit for the Northeast Seniors Food Shelf 22 years ago. So this version in 2019, we're going to have $2 off every ticket. Goes back to the Northeast Seniors Food Shelf.
Yeah.
And if you bring a paper bag full of non-perishable food items, you get $5 off your ticket. Now, so this is the 22nd year we've been doing it. And I have to put out a disclaimer here, Andy. When I started this in 1997, I had no idea that the Northeast Seniors Food Shelf, that one day I'd actually be eligible for it.
That you'd be supporting your own
Time
cause.
flies.
Wow. So who else going to show up on the 23rd?
I've got two great singers I've been playing with for years. Mary Harris has been playing with me for almost 30 years. Sang at my mother's funeral.
Yeah.
Randy Starr Hudson. They're two angels of harmonic delight. Cats Under the Stars, acoustic quartet, Joe Loma, Jack Pasternacki, Tim O'Keefe, and myself. Sonny Earl. Stan Kipper's going to sit in.
Oh, fantastic.
My good buddy Bobby Vandell is going to MC. He'll probably end up sitting in. There might be a couple of special guests. You know, it's a Metsa show. You never know who's going to show up.
Well, it's such a great venue too. It's very wide open. There's room for a lot of people. The that'll be a great place. So mark that on your calendars. The other thing that's going on is Alphabet Jazz. Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
Indiegogo.
Yeah. Well, I got my new record. Will be out right about the time this show airs.
Okay.
It's called Walking in a Woman's World. Go to paulmetsa.com and get it, or track me down at Shaw's on a Thursday, 5 to 7:30.
Cool.
And I'm working on an Indiegogo program, a campaign to raise money to put out a book of original poetry, about 25 to 30 poems, called Alphabet Jazz. You could go to paulmetsa.com, hear some of the poetry, and read some of the poetry. And I'm very excited about that. As I moved into 2020, I want to kind of take my stuff kind of out of the nightclubs and into the theaters, whether they be 30-seat theaters or 3,000 seats.
And in a spoken word CD or project that you've got with Alphabet Jazz includes musicians, some of the finest musicians in the Twin Cities going into the studio with you to audioly, I don't know what the word is.
Create soundscapes behind the poem.
There you go. That's fantastic. So that's another fantastic project that's coming up. And the Wall of Power Radio Hour still continuing. Again, you said
every Saturday night at
5.5 years.
am950.com, am950radio.com. You can track down previous podcasts. And now we're going on 100 episodes. I think this is the 100th with Wall of Power.
We sure are.
I want to thank you very much, Andy, because we make enough to pay for our time and a rent on the studio.
Yeah. We're
not getting rich yet, but I think we've captured some really incredible stories, some really incredible individuals. And that's what I love.
We wanted to be historians as well, not just entertainers and not just, okay, this is the guy in his new album or whatever, but to capture the stories that were out there. And you really bring them out because it's a conversation with cameras. It always has been. And Paul brings it out to people, so that's why it's really been a pleasure to be able to interview Paul because that is what makes our show different. You know, we might have somebody really big come in. Louis Kemp maybe going around talking about growing up with Bob Dylan, and he gets a minute and a half or 30 seconds or something like that on the locals, on the local TV networks shows. But with us, there's an hour coming up. That's a two-parter. We've got Louis Perez coming up.
Perez from Los Lobos.
Alejandro Escovedo, who you mentioned earlier.
And we've got I've got a lot of archive stuff. I've got almost an hour and a half just on Jimmy LaFave.
Yeah.
We're gonna treat with kid gloves because that guy was so important.
We're gonna do some great tributes as well to both Wee Willie Walker, also Jimmy LaFave, and really anyone else that we might lose in the meantime because we're that flexible.
In the meantime.
Or absolutely discover in the meantime, like the Carnegies. Like the angry black bitches, wherever they are these days. But it's just been fantastic. And so please go to metsamerica.com or Metsa America on the YouTube channel. There's lots of our shows that are up there, previous shows that were done, and we've got more coming. We're just getting started. I mean,
Yeah.
this is our 6th season. We've been together about 2.5 years,
And we'd like
so
to
far
thank
at
Metro,
MCN6.
Metro Cable Channel 6
Yeah.
and Stuart Devon
Yeah.
and the great board of directors for having us on. I just want to say one more thing here, Andy. First of all, I want to personally thank all of you that watched Wall of Power TV over the last couple of years, listen to Wall of Power Radio Hour, but especially those of you that have been coming out to see me play and support me for 4 decades now, 40 years. It's funny, Andy, and we can end with this. I bump into people, I see them at, PetSmart or Target or the bar or the grocery store.
Yeah.
And they go like this, yeah, it's me. And they come up and go, I really enjoy your show. And they compliment me. They compliment me. They say, how did you become such a great interviewer? And I said, I've been sitting at bars for 40 years talking to strangers.
Yeah.
It's really as simple as that.
Yeah. Well, it's neat because sometimes there's people that you know, and sometimes we'll go on the road. That first one that we did with Dave Grissom and Greg Koch in the hotel room was just like, really? You want to go do this, Metsa? What rabbit hole am I following you down now? And that's one of our favorite shows and one of our best shows. And they're just going to continue. So I'll follow you wherever you want to go and talk to whoever you say, hey, this is who we've got, because
I appreciate that, Andy, because
people trust you.
It's important because I trust them.
Yeah.
I trust their stories. I love America. I love this culture. I love every aspect of this culture. And I love listening to other people tell their story.
Mm-hmm.